The shocking alliance between Roman Reigns and CM Punk, a WWE game-changer. What just happened in WWE is something nobody could have predicted. It's the kind of storyline that sends chills down your spine, that blurs the line between fiction and reality, and that ignites conversations across the entire wrestling world. Roman Reigns and CM Punk, two of the most dominant, divisive, and powerful forces in WWE history, have done the unthinkable. They have aligned. Not for glory. Not for championships. But for vengeance. And their first act as a united front was as shocking as it was brutal. They turned their fury toward one man who helped create them, guide them, manipulate them, Paul Heyman. This wasn't just a heel turn. This wasn't just a plot twist. This was a blood-stained chapter in the legacy of WWE. And to truly understand the weight of what went down, we need to go back and revisit the long, tangled history between these three men. The rise of Roman Reigns. From Shield enforcer to tribal chief, Paul Heyman has always been a master manipulator. A genius with a microphone. A strategic mind that turned promising careers into generational icons. He took Roman Reigns, the former Shield enforcer, and molded him into the tribal chief, the longest-reigning WWE Universal Champion of the modern era. Under Heyman's guidance, Roman became unstoppable, ruthless, and feared. He crushed every challenger, destroyed every faction, and built an empire that stretched across Raw and SmackDown. But power changes people. Roman became consumed by his own dominance. The power he held over WWE wasn't just physical, it was psychological. He didn't just rule the locker room, he ruled the entire narrative. He demanded respect, feared no one, and made every single one of his opponents bow to the supremacy of the bloodline. The reign of Roman was absolute. But with absolute power comes absolute isolation. As Roman grew stronger, the cracks in his empire began to show. Family loyalty was tested. Trust was broken. And the very people who had been by Roman's side for years began to question his methods, his leadership, and his vision for the future of WWE. Heymans Betrayal, a shocking turn of events. Heyman, ever the opportunist, began to see the cracks forming in the bloodline. Roman, consumed by his own empire, became vulnerable. And as WrestleMania 41 approached, with Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker breathing down Roman's neck, Heyman made a choice that shocked everyone. He turned his back on the tribal chief and aligned himself with the very people who wanted to end Roman's reign. That betrayal wasn't just strategic, it was personal. Roman trusted Heyman like family. He called him the wise man. He allowed Heyman into his most sacred inner circle. So when Heyman chose Seth Rollins, a man Roman had long considered his rival and equal, it shattered the entire bloodline foundation. Roman Reigns had always been a man of principle, of honor, of loyalty. But when the man who had shaped him into the powerhouse he was turned his back on him, Roman snapped. The betrayal was not something he could easily overlook. Heyman's decision to choose Seth Rollins was more than just a strategic move, it was a personal slap in the face to everything Roman had built. It was a direct assault on his legacy, and Roman Reigns was not about to let that slide. CM Punk's return, the wild card in the equation. As if the tension between Roman and Heyman wasn't enough, WWE had another wild card in play, CM Punk. The straight-edge superstar's return to WWE had set the wrestling world on fire. Fans were ecstatic to see Punk back, but nobody quite understood just how deep his resentment ran. Punk had always been an outsider in WWE. A man who had walked away from the company at the peak of his career, Punk was the embodiment of rebellion. His relationship with WWE was always a complex one. He had been both a champion and a pariah. His return to WWE wasn't just about redemption, it was about revenge. Revenge against the establishment, revenge against the system that had turned its back on him. But what if Punk wasn't just focused on WWE's top brass? What if his resentment extended deeper, all the way to Paul Heyman, the man who had once been his manager but also the mastermind behind Roman Reigns' rise to power? When Punk's path crossed with Roman's, it was clear that something more was brewing beneath the surface. Roman had his empire, but Punk had his vendetta. And there was one common thread that connected them: Paul Heyman. Punk's alignment with Roman was more than just a shocking twist, it was the beginning of something much larger. Two of the most dangerous men in WWE history were now united. Not for titles. Not for the spotlight. But for vengeance. They had a score to settle with the man who had manipulated their lives and careers for his own gain. The shocking betrayal, the attack on Paul Heyman. The night everything changed was a night no one saw coming. Roman Reigns and CM Punk, two forces that had previously stood in opposition to each other, came together with one unified purpose: to destroy Paul Heyman. The betrayal was swift. It was brutal. And it left Paul Heyman lying in a pool of his own blood. Roman Reigns, with a cold, calculated fury, was the first to strike. He delivered a brutal spear that sent Heyman crashing to the mat. The shock on Heyman's face was palpable, he had no idea what hit him. He had always thought he was in control. He had always believed that he could manipulate anyone. But on this night, it was Heyman who became the victim of manipulation. He had no idea that his past actions would come back to haunt him in such a brutal way. And then, CM Punk's signature move, the go-to-sleep, sealed the deal. Punk's knee connected with Heyman's skull with devastating force, and the crowd erupted in shock and disbelief. The alliance between Roman and Punk wasn't just a plot twist, it was a statement. Heyman had spent his entire career manipulating others. He had played both sides of every story, pulling the strings behind the scenes. But in the end, it was his own manipulation that led to his downfall. Roman and Punk had united not just out of mutual resentment toward Heyman, but because they realized something: Heyman's empire was built on lies. And they were done being pawns in his game. What's next? The future of Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and WWE. The fallout from this betrayal is still unfolding, but one thing is certain: WWE will never be the same. Roman Reigns and CM Punk, once bitter enemies, are now allies in a war against the man who helped shape them. But what does this mean for the future of WWE? Roman Reigns, now more dangerous than ever, has no intention of relinquishing his reign as the tribal chief. With Punk by his side, the bloodline has evolved into something far more lethal. No longer is Roman the lone wolf, he has an ally in Punk, someone who understands the pain of betrayal, the hunger for revenge. As for CM Punk, his motivations remain unclear. Is he truly aligned with Roman, or is this just another calculated move in his long game of vengeance? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure: Punk has always been a master manipulator, and there's no telling what he has up his sleeve. And Paul Heyman? Well, his time in WWE may be over. The man who once stood at the top of the wrestling world is now a broken, bloodied figure, betrayed by the very people he once controlled. Heyman's legacy is forever tarnished, and the scars from this betrayal will never fade. The legacy of the betrayal, a new era in WWE. This shocking turn of events is not just another chapter in WWE's storied history, it's the beginning of a new era. Roman Reigns and CM Punk, two of the most influential and dangerous forces in WWE, have united for a common cause. And that cause is not just to dominate the company, it's to tear down the system that created them. With the power of the bloodline and Punk's unpredictable nature, the landscape of WWE has shifted forever. New rivalries will emerge. Old alliances will crumble. And one thing is for certain: no one in WWE is safe. The question now is simple: who will stand against Roman Reigns and CM Punk? Who will rise up to challenge the most dangerous alliance in WWE history? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure: WWE will never be the same again. Stay tuned to Wrestling News CC for all the latest updates on this incredible storyline and the fallout from one of the most shocking alliances in WWE history. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis and breaking news from the world of professional wrestling. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Wrestling News CC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.